Welcome to the COSB 360 Conversations videocast, the platform for county influencers. This is an organizational and talent development initiative to engage with all leaders and keep our workforce informed. This is also one way to share the efforts of departmental staff in what it takes from a leadership perspective to keep the wheels turning in our organization. This videocast is being hosted by June Mighty, OTD Division Chief.
All right, so Gina, thank you for joining us on the COSB 360 videocast, the platform for county influencers, and you are definitely a county influencer. So thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And so for those of you who don't know, Gina DePinto is the County of Santa Barbara's communications manager / Public Information Officer, PIO. And she has been doing this work, been in this industry for quite some time. Actually, Gina, before I get started in my questions, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how long you've been working in this industry?
I don't think we have enough time for all of that.
No. Let's not go way back. Let's just give it a little bit. I want a sound bite. Give me a sound bite.
Oh gosh, you're turning the tables on me. Essentially I've been doing communications, marketing, branding, internal communications, special events for, aging myself, over 30 years, so more than 30 years. In a nutshell, half of that time has been in government agencies, so the public sector, and half of it has been in the private sector. So my background is very. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when I came here, I've been here 4 years, right? And so when I came here and saw that you were here, because we were also in the Phoenix area together, I'm like, wow, this is like really a small world, and did a lot of things there as well. So I'm really glad to just be able to have this discussion with you this morning. And so I have a couple of questions,
Okay.
but we'll just sort of go through this. And so the first one I have for you, the county has been in a transformational process since I've been here, I know, and probably even before I started. But we've done a lot and focusing on Renew 22. And so what I want you to do is just to talk to us a little bit about Renew 22, where we were, a little bit about where we are, and then I want you to talk about where we're going, especially when we start to feature the We campaign, which I want you to explain to our audience more about that. So give me a little bit of background on Renew 22.
Oh goodness. Well, it's hard to believe that we started it 4 years ago, and that Renew 2022, because it was initially a plan of transformation that we expected would take 5 years. And so 2022 was kind of the goal, the deadline, if you will. And actually, it will continue. We probably won't be calling it Renew 22 in 2022, but the concepts that have evolved through this, and the successes, and the where we've come from, where we're going to, it will continue. So it's not just going to stop when we hit the year 2022. It's hard to believe. It seems so long in the future when we started it, and to think that we are almost there is really pretty hard to believe. Really it started with more about our financial situation and the pension, and the market, and coming out of recession, and all of that. And it started as a plan to keep us on track. We thought we were going to have some major hits budgetarily, and the way things have worked out, it really didn't come to pass. And we did some different things with all the investments with pension, and it's performed quite well. Everyone's portfolio has actually been, if you're doing the right thing, it's been performing quite well over the past several years. So then that's kind of where it started. But then it really was about, how can we be the best organization? And it's not about, I know when we kind of started talking to employees about it, do more with less. That's not really accurate. It's really, what do we need to focus on? How can we do those things better, more efficiently. It's about process improvement, but a lot of it too was it was really addressing our corporate culture, because we are such a large organization,
Correct.
and it's not uncommon. We're very siloed, and so we tend to get in our silos and not think about what others in other departments are doing. And really, at the end of the day, we're all serving the same customer. And so there's, certain places where it might cross over that we could find efficiencies, and we should be working closely together. And it's really just evolved. And so I think where we're heading is, COVID. I always thought when the pandemic started, if we hadn't already started Renew 22 and been in this mindset of transformation,
It would have been more difficult. It would have been a little bit more difficult.
I think it would. I think that we were much more flexible, and we were able to quickly go into, hybrid workspaces, remote working, teleworking. We're relying more on technology, which is in our all of our values and the whole bit. So, and becoming bringing the organization into the 2000s.
Well, and you know what? And you mentioned something. So let's go back a little bit, because you talked a little bit about the silos. Okay, so it's no longer about the financial aspect, but you talk about the culture, you talk about the silos, but also the aspect of a greater level of sustainability, agility, because even though we didn't have the financial component, I remember at the time, the last time I interviewed Mona, she had done more than 17 emergency activations of the Emergency Management Center, and so we have that aspect as well. So I think all those things contributed to us being where we are. And now you're correct. COVID really then helped. It was a real nexus. It was a real shift. So
I think so. It's, hopefully this means that we are proactive. We're not reactive. And when you're in a reactive state, it does take you a little bit longer to get going and to find your groove and figure out systems and all of that. Mm-hmm. I think we were able to transition so quickly. We're much more nimble. And I think if it hadn't been for the pandemic, I don't know that the amount of remote work and teleworking would have ever been allowed.
Well, true. So let's speak to that, because there's some truth to that, because a lot of times, right, when we're used to, all of us, I like change. I like efficiency. I love technology and all those sort of things. But sometimes when the change that you're proposing hits the area where I may want to hold on to, then I'm like, I don't know if I want to change that much, So the thing is that I think it forced us to see what is possible, but when others may have been thinking, well, no, this group can't do that, or we can't do this, or it was like the naysayers, versus when you have to. Oh, what's that phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention. When you have to, you'd be surprised what you're able to do. And so there are some, COVID-19 brought in some sadness, some things that we really didn't want. And at the same time, Gina, I've got to admit, it also gave us some opportunities and presented us with some good things as well. And so it brought in both, and we have to be able to take from that.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, anyone who's working remotely, if there's that old school thought of, well, if we can't keep our eyes on you all day long, then certainly you must not be working. Right. But proof is in the pudding. The work is getting done. And if there are areas where it's not, then it can be addressed. And of course, it's different for everybody.
Correct.
But I agree with you. And but I'm also sitting in a position where, I am fortunate that I have a workstation at home. I invested in my own workspace, but the county invested as well. And, it's seamless for me to go back and forth to the office. And, my job is kind of a 24/7. I'm on call if we have a disaster. I get calls from media, weekends, evenings, early mornings. I've had constituents call me at midnight. So for me, the location isn't where I do my job. I truly can do it from anywhere. And,
Right.
but I know that that's not the case for every position we have at the county with, more than 4,200 employees. But, and you mentioned change. Change isn't easy for most people. It is a hard thing. And we're a big, what's that saying about turning the ship around? It doesn't turn, on a dime.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it takes people a while with change. And I think for me personally, when we started Renew 22 and how to communicate it to the employees and what does it mean to every employee, and we're a group of leadership and with the exec team, and we're living this, breathing this, talking about it every day. But how do you get it all the way through the organization, and
all the way down to
everybody.
the front line and employees? Yeah.
And what we do at the county, I've always been a big believer in, employees are the backbone, and everyone has their part to play. And, picking on like maybe park staff, they're not sitting behind a desk like you and I are all day, but they're often the first person that interacts with our constituents. They're
Right.
out in the public, they're in our space. People love being outdoors, being in the parks. They're important, just as much as an accountant is. Every department has, its function. And so one of the things that, I probably said ad nauseum is it's that tangibility. How do we make Renew 22 tangible? And part of the tangibility comes from results. And we're seeing results. And that's when everyone can kind of go, okay, I get it. And I relate to that.
You're right. And I think even more so now, we're seeing results to the point, right, where we can now integrate something else, which is what you call the We campaign, right? So tell us a little bit now about the We campaign and what that is about.
Right. Well, a little bit, let me go back kind of to the beginning, because as we would talk about how to communicate this, there's a recurring theme, and several folks who have either been in the new employee orientation have heard from me, have heard me say, one of the big, takeaways for me is that when you hear employees talk about, we're all guilty of doing this. Oh, the county did such and such, or the county's going to do blah, blah, blah. But you have to stop and think, who's the county?
We are.
We are. I am.
Yeah.
You are. Every single employee is the county. We represent the county. We're responsible in our own space and in our own sphere of influence. And so that I am, we are kept coming up and rolling through this. And when we looked at how to communicate our mission, our vision, our values, we even have organizational behaviors.
Right.
And all of that combined is our guiding principles. And
Right.
we had, 4 corporate values kind of honed in. And when we would sit around talking about them, we'd be like, what are they again? so even we were guilty of, trying to remember, because there's a lot of verbiage, there's a lot of text, there's a lot of explanation and description, and it's all very important. But you need, like anything, we need the billboard version so that it is memorable. We can all, recollect. And some of it is, buzzwords. And so, we were always looking for acronyms too. So the We campaign combines all of those. And basically what all of the messaging stands for is we work, we deliver, we value, we are. And then those statements come after. So we value, what do we value? Ace it. So, and I was going to have them up on the screen because now that I'm on the spot, it's like, what are those?
Yes.
And we actually added, okay, so can I look at my notes so I don't get it wrong? This is terrible. I see these things every single day, June.
I know. The ones that I memorized are cards. I memorized cards. Just like the collaboration,
Yeah.
the alignment, the risk
We had an
taking, and
right.
data-driven decision making. That one I think I have.
So accountability,
Mm-hmm.
I have to look, customer focus,
Mm-hmm.
equity and inclusion, which we added recently just because it is so vital and important. We can talk about Join and other programs of the county that we're doing for training and to embed these things in the organization and in our culture. Innovation, trust and ethics. And basically it spells out the acronym of ACET. And of course, anyone who's been here 6, 7 years or longer remembers ACE. And so it does kind of relate and tie in past initiatives and kind of brings it all home and, full circle, basically.
And you know what I think I like the aspect also of the innovation, of course, equity and inclusion, but I like the idea of innovation because let's just face it, county organizations or some public sector organizations that are large and that are considered quote unquote bureaucratic organizations are not typically known for innovation.
Yeah.
And so we've seen a lot of that, even in the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of that, I think, at this county. And one of the things I'm really excited about, and this probably dates me, I'm really excited about the rollout, even of Office 365. Even something like that, the Innovate SBC programs that we're doing and all the changes that employees are making at their point of contact, not so much about what the county is doing, but about what they are doing in their individual world to make a difference and to be innovative. So I think that's absolutely awesome.
Well, and I'm excited about the We campaign because we've been talking about this and really honing in on each one of us is accountable and responsible for what we do in our roles. And the concept of the transformation in Renew 22 lives on. And so I think one of the things, if I had to say to all employees right now, what does it mean to me? What does it mean to each one of us? Everyone should be able to look around in their own workspace, their own division, if it is their team, not even necessarily their entire department, although that's great too. But you should be able to look at what you do and find ways, like think about what drives you crazy that if you could only do blah, 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 that would make it so much better or so much more efficient. And so everyone has that opportunity to make a difference, to make a change, to say, this isn't working. How can we fix this? Exactly. And I think that's where it came from, this we are, I am, because it's not up to somebody else all the time. We can't sit back and say, oh, it's someone else's problem, or I'm just, this position in the department.
Don't you hate that? Hold on. Don't you hate that? I'm just. It's so minimizing, and we really should not be minimizing ourselves and our roles. Now I got to tell you, Gina, when you said that, it's like, it's not that I haven't said it. I've said it, but sometimes when I said it, it's because I'm just being sarcastic at the time. Got to be honest about that. Well, I'm just, but really, we minimize our role. We minimize who we are and our role in the organization. So no one is just.
Well, and it's easier.
Let's face it.
It's easier to just leave it up to somebody else and let someone else worry about it.
Right.
But too much of that becomes a cancer in the organization. And then no one's happy. The customers aren't happy, but we aren't either. And so I think that there has to be that balance. And we are here to serve constituents. Some are internal focused, some are external. Ultimately, everything we do impacts everybody. And I, always point out and remind people that, when we're communicating to the public, who are our constituents and our customers, the employees are customers too. We make up a huge chunk of this community, whether, our employees live in Santa Barbara County or Ventura or what have you. And so it's up to each one of us. And there is accountability and responsibility for that. Right. The other element of the we are is that, again, I use the word guiding principles. Everything that we do should align with at least one of those values. And if it doesn't, then we probably are doing something wrong, or we shouldn't be doing it, or we need to think of it in terms of, how can I make this align? How does this align? And if I'm not in alignment, then again, I have an opportunity
So let's
turn
talk about that.
different direction.
That's a good point. So let's talk about alignment, because that's some place where I was actually headed. For us, like in OTD, that's something that I'm doing even now when we talk about this campaign, and even when we talked about Renew 22, the vision, the mission of the organization, that relating to the county of Santa Barbara, first and foremost, right? Because really that's the umbrella under which we all sit, right? Every single department sits under the umbrella and is known as, it may be human resources, but when things go wrong, it's the county. They don't say it's just the human resources. It's the county, right? So we set that stage. And so one of the things that I think is important, and I know that I've been doing, and even our department is making a great effort, is that alignment piece. And that is, even when we're in our training sessions, I'm saying to our employees, to our managers, it's like, how does what you're currently doing in your organization align with the county's mission, vision, values? And it does not mean that we don't respect the goals and the visions of each individual department, but everything that we do, if we're setting it up correctly, the vision of every department still should align with the parent. So it's almost like, we're just say, for instance, I have a daughter, just one, right? And it's just the idea of, when you're living in my household, you align with me. You're not, when you get out and start working on your own, you have your own place, and you may have heard this before. When you've got your own stuff and you're making your own money, you have your place, you can totally set up everything you want to under your own umbrella. But once you're in this house, everything aligns. And it's not that you're not respected as a person. It's not that you're not respected as a department or a division or whatever. But how does it connect? What's the connection? What's the nexus? And I don't think it's just in one area, Gina. I think in all those areas, we need to be constantly looking at how do we make this seamless? One county with one future.
That's exactly. And so that's a great jumping off point. Glad you mentioned that.
All right, go ahead.
Another element, and we have honed in on this one county, one future for many years now, that I guess did really come from Renew 22, and it's Mona's favorite saying. And we started adding it here to a budget cover, what have you. You would see it. And so we decided we didn't make this official. And so another piece that just soft launched, is a new logo. Basically, we took the county seal. You can see it in my virtual background.
Right.
And we added the tagline of one county, one future. And it's officially now part of our logo. With our seal, it is our logo. And so we launched that, and employees can learn more about it by going to the county intranet, which not all employees know about. If they come from a big department with their own intranet, County Connect tends to be secondary. Okay. But it is the county's intranet where we launch, and make announcements, and there's handy dandy, links there and what have you. And so front and center, we have launched this new logo with a branding guideline that I'm incredibly proud of, because ever since I got here and we didn't have one, I have wanted to create one. What is that?
Yes, Gina, it is more thorough. It's more thorough. It looks good. Yes.
Thank you. But really what I had been witnessing as someone new at the county is this lack of branding. And I've been doing this so long, Gina. I remember the days where someone said to me in government, "Oh, we will not be on social media, and we are not a brand. We are a government organization." It's like, no, we have a brand too. This logo and all of us who support that brand, collectively we represent, again, the county, and we put our best foot forward. And so it is a guideline on how to use this logo, how not to mistreat her. Don't turn her purple. don't, there's certain things about, and I call her a her. I don't know why, but she's a her. And so, and it also in the branding guideline, which is available digitally through County Connect. Once you've read the branding guideline on the kind of the do's and the don'ts and tips and tools and spot colors and fonts and all that kind of thing, there is a link directly to the box, to box.com, where employees can download all the versions of the logo. And I want to point out, in addition, by doing some of the things that we're producing for the We Are campaign and starting to install these branding elements in county facilities, in the next several weeks, we'll be installing countywide, the county.
By the way, I had the opportunity to go to the admin building earlier this week. So I did actually see it on the elevators. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So let's come back to that, because I think that's part of culture and being an organization that we're like, never would have thought the county would have done that. And it's just an elevator door wrap, but it's pretty cool.
It's cool.
Maybe I'm a little too close to it, but I'm pretty proud of that. But this concept of, I lost my train of thought with the logo. What was I saying, Gina?
Well, you were talking, so where you were going, or where I think you were going, and where I'm going to guide you is like, okay, so we have this soft launch, right? And we have things like I said, that I was able to see in the admin building. We're going to have other buildings throughout the county with that.
I remember what I was saying. Thank you.
Good.
So as we started installing branding in county admin, we added, I've always said that our logo is nowhere. We're not in the lobby. We're not on the glass entrance doors. So we put up these beautiful seals on the door, and Jeff Rapwell actually caught it first. He looked at it from down the hallway and he said, "It's not round." And I said, "Sure it is." He's like, "No, it's not round." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." His eye picked up on it right away. And others have now said to me, it always drove them crazy that our logo wasn't round. And I didn't know what they were talking about. So Jeff got a ruler out and literally proved me wrong. It had been our original logo files that everyone has been using, presumably. It was squished, it was oval, it wasn't round. And so we had the artist who did the One County, One Future tagline fix our county logo, and now it is perfectly circular. And even Chelsea and clerk of the board said yesterday it used to drive her crazy because her OCD-ness, it didn't fit in a perfect, when you had
it wasn't there.
Which I guess I should have realized, because if you ever do any graphics and you try and fill it in a perfectly round circle that's, you've been dragged in, and you then go enter the logo, it never fit. And I should have picked up on that. But anyway, so most importantly, if anyone needs even just the general seal, that has been corrected. And those files are also in the same location with all the new logo files in the box. And so it's, there's a lot of division. There's small use and large use, which means higher res, bigger size if you're printing large scale, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, but even with that, so let's move from that, because yes, it is available. So I encourage everyone to go on the County Connect, County intranet, and actually gain access to that. Yeah. And if you're not able to, you need to be able to contact Gina DePinto to find out how to gain access to that information if you're in a department where you don't have access to that intranet. But the other thing is, remember, so there's several other things coming I want you to touch on before we wrap up. One, there is the We campaign, we're able to, the posters, right? For the also be able to do for each department. And also, what else are you thinking about? Although I know that you're putting together a plan and it's not finalized, so I'll do the disclaimer, it's not finalized. But, what else are we going to do to get this out more to your organization so people are aware?
Right. So I think that the official launch is probably the third week of July, because we're trying to get the main pieces installed right now. As you said, we have the elevator doors and some lobby branding in county admin downtown. So we're adding the logo seal in, our bigger public facing departments in Lompoc, Santa Maria, Cayo Real. Our mission statement has been done as a sign, a beautiful I mean,
Sort of like
signed.
acrylic.
Yeah, it's acrylic. It's pretty. It's printed. It's you know, and when you see it, it'll make sense. But it's in English and Spanish, because we've had several questions from employees that even though to be employed at the county you must be fluent in English, we, you know, nearly half of our county is, you know, Spanish speaking.
Spanish speaking. Yeah, got it.
I don't know if that's, you know, what the percentage is of monolingual Spanish, but you know, even though our employees speak English, we serve a large Latinx community, and there are others, of course, here in smaller numbers, but that is our, you know,
Predominant.
county,
And
predominantly.
so, and it reflects being inclusive as well.
Right. So
I
we've ordered
acknowledge that.
those signs. They're beautiful, and they're going to be installed in, again, several facilities around the county facilities, and the logos. And then we have some signage and some posters of different sizes that some of the departments have ordered to hang in their own facilities. That'll be more internal in office spaces. So there are elements of that. Some of the departments are using custom photos with their employees, which I think is great. My favorite version when this comes out is the people who are the who make this machine go are basically embedded in the background, as opposed to just a generic background, which is our kind of our corporate institutional look. Like the elevator doors, the background is the courthouse.
Right. And that makes sense.
And we talked about, does the courthouse mean as much to, you know, Central and North counties it does if you live and work down here? You know, everybody knows the courthouse. It is universal. It is a tourist attraction. So we do think that it is pretty universal, representing the county. And, you know, we always struggle with that one county, one future. It's not just ocean. It's not just mountains. It's not just ag. It's everything. And
it's everything.
And that's why I like the focus on the employees and the people. So anyway, so there's different elements that are going to roll out, and then we're planning some other, I don't want to give it away too soon, but we have some fun things.
But you're planning some other things that's going to come down the line to help to continue to promote, but not just promote, get the word out, inspire, engage our employees. And again, the focus of this is to just make it part of our culture. You know, it's part of who we are, and looking towards the future. You know, it's just with us. Right. And so I think all of this is just really exciting. And I do want to just thank you personally. I know that you've put, of course, I know that we have committees, our executive leaders who are supporting this and participating. So let me first acknowledge that, because that is so true. Without them, we couldn't do a lot of this. Right. We have task force and ambassadors and all these different groups, right? Right. But you're the person in front of me right now, and you're also an integral part of that process throughout these different groups. So I do want to just thank you for everything that you've been doing, sometimes behind the scenes, to make this thing work. It's like, you know, when we were doing the press conferences during I want to say during COVID, as if it's all over. Maybe it's in my mind. I'm really, you know, moving forward. But last year when we were doing all those press conferences, right, out of the EU, and, you know, you're pretty much behind the scenes, making sure the logistics are done, working with other IT, general services, and everyone to make sure everything gets done. So you're not always out in front, but you're definitely an integral part of the entire process and the team. So I do want to extend my appreciation to you, and for all the times that you answer my email when I ask ridiculous questions.
Yeah, I need someone over my shoulder just watching my day. So people say, what do you do? And it's like, oh, where do I start? And
you know what, I think maybe, you know, you and I've worked when we were in this previous organization that you and I worked for, and we had a department for public information, and a host of individuals assigned to different departments, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I'm kind of used to it. And I also remember, you know, it's like, okay, this is where I picked up the idea of sound bites. This is where I learned that in that organization. This is where I learned, because I was working in neighborhood services at that time. It's like, if a reporter on deadline calls you, you need to make sure you get that information to them right away. Reporter on deadline. So when you get a reporter on deadline, I'm like, oh, I got to respond.
At minimum, I tell everyone at least respond and let them know that you've received their inquiry. Set up some expectations. Don't wait till you have the answer, because they're not going to wait for us. In other words,
but you know what, Gina, it's funny. You think it's funny. It's like I took that, and there are times I will say to people, like when I'm moving, I'm like a reporter on a deadline. Just so let's just get this. And I literally use that phrase.
I love
because
it.
It's a state of mind, and understand, okay, there's a sense of urgency here. I need to move. Let's do this.
Yes.
So it was, I learned a lot of things.
Full transparency, in case anyone is wondering who's watching this, June and I both work for the city of Phoenix. It is the 5th largest city in the country, and we had more than 10,000 employees. So granted, it is a much larger organization, but the public information office that I worked in had 6 or 7 full-time plus full-time PIOs for, all the various departments, 2 for the water department alone, 2 for the airport. I mean, so I would say our whole public information team was about 12 to 15 people. 2 in fire, so there are some similarities here. We, of course, we have PIOs for sheriff and fire and what have you. But yeah, I'm one where I was part of a team of like 6, 7.
Yeah, and again, it was good though, because I think it's important for people to know. You probably wonder, I learned so much. Because when I was working with PIO, you guys educated us on what we needed to do. It was a constant education process, especially when you're working in a department that has to be responsive to the public. And if you recall, neighborhood services had to be very responsive to the public, to the residents, and also to the council. And so, you know what? I learned how to, I don't know that I want anybody to know this, but I actually learned how to write a speech for the mayor when we used to do neighborhoods that work, and I had to write the speeches. And so then I write it, and then I had to submit it to PIO. And there's all these different symbols and different things that you have to put in these things. I'm like, good gracious, to indicate where to pause. And, I don't know if I do want to do that again, but it was actually great learning through my life. And I think everything, and I think every employee should know everything that you pick up from whatever organization, department, sometimes it's transferable. So if you work in public health and you want to go to public works, I guarantee you there's something that you learn in public health that you could probably use there, and vice versa. I was able to just be mobile and to be the best asset to that organization. And also to the things that I learned in that organization, I still sometimes use today in this organization, as we move forward. So it's been very helpful and insightful.
It's crazy that we both worked there, but not at the same time. We didn't know each other. And that was one of the departments I serviced, was neighborhood services. But one last thing before we, because we have not mentioned Innovate SBC. Mm-hmm. And so actually, I've been through Innovate SBC, and my project, which is not out at the time that I would hope that it would have been done, but I am planning on a series of probably Zoom recorded tutorials, training sessions, really short, to help employees that I can post on County Connect. Employees can watch them when they can on different communications related topics, including writing tips, because everyone does generally write and produce materials on behalf of the county. And so whatever I can do to help so we can be better communicators, more consistent use of style across the departments. And there are, so there are a lot of folks who do come to me and help me edit or, write or edit their press releases. I do issue press releases to the press, to media, but even if it's a flyer or a document or a report, I am happy to weigh in, because that's what I've been doing for 35 years. So it's easier for me, and I want to help give some of those common tips and the things that I see commonly done, that could be improved or what have you. And some of it might just be simple grammar. Some of it is, and this is in the branding guide, when we capitalize county, when we don't capitalize county.
Yes, that's always a tricky one.
It is, and sometimes we're flying so fast. I'll do it and not catch it until later and go, oh, I didn't even see that. And so we're so accustomed to capitalizing it, which really is, there are times when we don't. And there is a difference between just the county and the county organization.
Correct.
So anyway, so my Innovate SBC project is really to, I need to script and develop and record a series of short little videos that people can watch for tips, and hopefully it will help folks and just be just one more thing that kind of helps us all improve and be better communicators. And always thinking about that county. We get really, we're married to our departments, and there's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, we all work for the county. It's the county seal that's on our paychecks. And so county comes first, departments are second. So more to come on that. There's very strong opinions by the board.
But let's say it this way. Let's look at it this way. It's not even a first or a second. Because again, if you look at it as a family, it's not first or second, it's just, this is the family structure. You are part of the family, and we look at that's, that's, I think, the best way to say it. It's like, if you have, I just really think that we just need to have the mindset that we are the county, and what's overall, and how do we continue to align. The department in itself is not, no department is on of itself, otherwise it wouldn't be under the county umbrella.
Right.
So I think we just need to have that consistent mindset moving forward, because I came in with that mindset. I never just thought about just county HR or just HR for me, but I've been trained. I've been kind of trained. I'm military trained, so that kind of focuses you on an overall umbrella and a mission. And in all my roles, it's always been, this is an organization, and how do we align? And so I sort of think that way. But I think that's what we want to maintain.
And I think employees, what the takeaway is, and what they should remember is, too often in the public, people don't necessarily understand what their county government is, what we do for them and for this community. And so it's always an education, and that's the whole thing about branding. We want people to know. And so when we're doing well and doing really good things, let's give the county credit. And again, we're all part of that. But if they don't know that something good was done in this community on behalf of us, or because of us, or because the board appropriated $13 million to help people through COVID for rent assistance, the community should know that. And we often don't get credit for the good things that we do. And unfortunately, people love to dwell on, things that maybe are controversial, or if there ever is a mistake or something that happened. So if people could look at, employees could think about it in those terms, it's all an education about why we are here. We spend more time at work than we generally do at home with our families. And so, and if anyone's not proud of working for the county, we need to understand why, and we need to change it and fix it. But you should be proud to say, I work for the county of Santa Barbara, and that person that you're talking to should be like, oh, that's good on you, and so it's kind of this mutual thing that's what branding is all about. So I guess I would encourage everyone to think about that, because I do see things put out by departments that don't even have the mention of the county, no logo in it. And I always have to stop and think, why is that? Yeah. Take credit. You guys are spending hours on this program. Take credit. So.
And I think sometimes also, again, is that information and that insight that you're even providing now. We are a county organization, and the bottom line is, when you're speaking, we exist for our residents, for our community. We are also part of the community. And when you speak to the community, they say, well, where do you work? You typically say the county of Santa Barbara. That's it. That is a simple version of it, and unless the discussion goes further, to talk about the specific areas, it's typically the county of Santa Barbara. So we are, in a nutshell, we are a county of Santa Barbara with one county with one future, you know, and just moving forward. So Gina, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, talking to us a little bit about, again, the Renew 22, the backstory, where we are now as it relates to COVID and Renew and the We campaign and everything else that's going to be coming through the pipeline in this month, coming July, which it starts tomorrow,
Right.
and towards the future. So
Right.
it's not over. This is just part of the journey.
And actually, one thing, so a report on Renew 22, big annual report, is going to the board, I believe August 17th. So late in August. So if anyone gets to keep an eye on board meetings and watch after, you know, later in the day, or, you know, the reporting or what have you, that'll be a really nice report about Renew 22, where we've been, where we're coming, you know, what's happened and where we're going.
Awesome.
So
Thank you so much, Gina. I really appreciate you joining me.
Thank you.
All right.
See you later.
See you later. So we will have our next session coming up probably next month. And so who will be our guest? That will be a surprise. But thank you guys for joining us on the COSB 360 video cast, the county platform for county influencers. And if you want to join us, you want to be a part of this, please reach out to me. Send me an email or send Deanna DeMaronaka an email, and we will invite you to be on with us and to share. You don't have to be an executive. You don't have to be well known across the county. But if you have something special you want everybody else across the county to know about, reach out to us. Thank you guys so much.